Good morning and welcome to today's FYI program. A real pleasure to have in studio with us not only the mayor, but the city administrator for the city of Camanche. We just got two topics that they want to talk about, but it looks like we're going to be able to fill a lot of time with these two topics. We'll begin with the mayor, Austin Pruett. Never had you in the studio before, Austin. First of all, let's find out a little bit about you. Are you a Camanche native, you were telling me?
Correct. I am 28 years old. I've been born and raised in Camanche. We've had 4 generations of family be there. On top of being the mayor of Camanche, I work full-time at 3M in Cordova.
Now, what made you decide to take on the role of city mayor?
I've always been interested in politics, and it was more behind closed doors, and I wanted to try and do something for our community and be active, and so that was when I made the decision to run for mayor.
Now, when you were elected mayor, were you a little surprised, or was this something you thought would probably happen?
I wasn't sure. I know I did all my interviews. I did everything I possibly could, and I know quite a few people around town, but I was running against a guy that has a lot of knowledge for being on council, so I was kind of surprised, I will say that.
So now, when did you actually take over as mayor?
In January.
Okay, and so how has it been going for you so far?
It's been going fairly well, I believe. I don't have too many complaints that I've heard to my face, but I've learned a lot. There's a lot of great knowledge you learn everything. You learn more and more every day.
I would think so, yeah. So, city administrator, how's this young man doing?
He's doing an outstanding job. He's an excellent listener, and he brings a lot of things to the table that are just unique. They're outside the scope of typical politics. They're just more everyday perspectives, and sometimes it's very beneficial to get outside views of what's going on inside your world, and he's done a great job of that, and he's learning quite a few things and making good decisions, and really what I'm really proud of is the fact that he's running really organized meetings, and to the point where we're having meetings that are between 25 and 45 minutes, and we're in and out of there. We conduct the business professionally, and off we go. So he's done a really excellent job with that and gets better every day.
You brought up something at the beginning. He listens, and that is so important. Do you get a lot of comments from people in the community? You listen to what they have to say, Austin?
I do. I'm open for anybody to come talk to me, call me, come to my office at City Hall. I like to hear what people have to say. We can't make decisions. Everybody has good input, and nobody has bad input. I'd rather listen to everybody, and that's part of my job, is be the voice for the community, and so that is why listening is a big part of my job. I
had a coach one time tell me there are no dumb questions. Always ask a question.
Always ask a question, you bet.
So again, let's get started. Where do you want to begin, the railroad merger or the roundabout, Andrew?
Well, I think the roundabout is a pretty quick subject to get through. It's just a matter of letting people know where we are and what's going on at that point. They're about a week and a half ahead of schedule. Mother Nature has been very good to us. The drop dead date is the end of November, but that has a whole lot of time padded in case you have bad weather. So it's looking more like the end of October would be a great time frame. However, if they're still a week and a half ahead of schedule and things continue on this pace, we would be looking at possibly mid-October, so another month away maybe before the sun. They should begin paving next week. And once they start paving, it goes pretty quickly. The next step after that would be getting Mid-American with the new electric lights put in to light the intersection properly.
Now, I don't know why, but roundabouts always seem to be such a controversial thing. I enjoy roundabouts. I think they work out pretty well. It kind of keeps the traffic flow going. But why do you think you run into objections?
Well, I think I've shared this before. Our previous Rotary District governor from last year came to speak to the Rotary Club of Clinton, and she said this. She said, the only people who like change are babies with dirty diapers. And that's true. So that change becomes difficult for people to manage through. They don't embrace change necessarily. They would like things to stay the same because it's familiar to them. And the trouble becomes, how do you enact that change for a better outcome? And the better outcome is for a roundabout is to eliminate high-speed collisions. And we've gone through this before about how this project got funded and where the funding came from, where the study came from. And we just asked for a study of the intersection, and the DOT funded a study, and the study said a roundabout is your best resolution to those types of accidents. The other solutions don't eliminate those accidents the way a roundabout does, and the DOT said that was probably correct, and that's why they funded us for $800,000 of the total project, because it was the right thing to do. I think they funded 2 sets of turn lanes, which was the second option. And in our case, the turn lanes would not have eliminated some of that cross traffic trying to get across the highway, and we would still experience high-speed collisions there. So it was the most obvious choice to make.
Mayor Pruett, what are your thoughts on the roundabout?
I think it's in the best interest of our community. I mean, there's going to be some hiccups in the road, I believe, at the start when people start getting used to how things go and actually getting used to the whole roundabout. But I don't think it's going to be as detrimental of an impact as everybody believes. I mean, semi trucks will still be, the traffic's still going to be able to get through there, and that's a lot of people's concern, but it is large enough where we shouldn't have a problem with that. And so I think after probably a couple of weeks, I'd say everything should be running pretty smoothly.
Whenever I approach a roundabout, I always just remind myself, yield as you enter the roundabout.
Yield to your left. That's all you got to do. Look to your left. If there's nobody there, you may proceed.
Exactly, and that is great. Well, let's go ahead and take a break for the weather,
Sure.
because this railroad merger, this could be interesting.
Yep.
So we're going to take our break for the weather. It is brought to you by Electronics.
Very fall-like day ahead of us, which is very appropriate, given fall begins this evening. We'll see a mix of clouds and sunshine, highs in the upper 60s. For tonight, a few more clouds working in, chilly, lows in the mid-40s, and some showers likely at times for Friday, highs in the low 60s.
Right now we do have sunshine, 55 degrees. Our update brought to you by Electronics.
Electronics Incorporated in Clinton is the area's largest communication and alarm systems company. Electronics offers best-in-class life safety, security, two-way radios, and communications equipment from top brands. Electronics, the company you've trusted for over 50 years, can now provide fire extinguisher sales, service, and inspections, plus kitchen hood inspections as well. Call or visit them online at www.electronicsinc.com for your free estimate.
FYI continuing, and again we have the mayor of Camanche, Austin Pruett, and the city administrator, Andrew Kida. Let's talk about this railroad merger. It's been a hot topic for a while now. How did this, first of all, come about, Andrew?
Well, we were made aware of the proposed merger about 9 months ago, and we were encouraged to go on the Surface Transportation Board website and lodge our concerns over what that merger would do. We did that, and CP reached out to us right away about our concerns, and we started negotiating what could be done about it to address our concerns in March. And by May, their solution to us was to offer us $100,000 to close each crossing in Camanche, up to 3 crossings, and we weren't receptive to that. They asked us to pay $1.1 million for the estimate that would be to make quiet zones at the other 5 crossings. This all happened 2 days after they gave Bettendorf $3 million, $1.5 million of which would go towards quiet zones in their industrial area. So we were a little confused and perplexed by that whole thing. So the city declined their offer, and we counter-offered, and it's been silent since then, and we have reopened some discussions with them based on a submission that they made, and we should be responding to that shortly at this point.
Seems like so many communities are being involved in this.
Yes.
So, I mean, they hear from you, but they're hearing from a lot of other people. How do they digest all this?
They have a lot of work to do. Canadian Pacific, they've got a lot of communities that they're crossing through. This merger will most impact communities from Sebula down to the north of Missouri. We bottleneck this line, and they're talking an additional 18 trains per day on top of what we already have. So you could be seeing 23, 25 trains per day, and doubling the length, which is important. And what the uniqueness of Camanche that I don't think they are grasping is that we have all 7 of our crossings within a 1 mile stretch. And now these trains could be 2 miles long. And if there's a stoppage for any reason, and I'm not going to blame Canadian Pacific for the stoppages, because it could be because of the bridge on the river. And that's barge traffic is forcing UP to stop, and UP is blocking the crossing, so CP has to stop, but they don't know it until they get there at the last second. So now Camanche is blocked off, and we have 1,200 citizens over on that side of the tracks who will have no means of egress other than the river in case of an emergency. So this is real problematic, and they're not appreciating that fact, I don't think.
So now who do you talk to? I mean, is there actually one person that you're in communication with?
We speak with Andy Cummings, who's in charge of that communications, yes.
And Mayor, what's your involvement in this particular discussions?
Well, I think it's going to be very detrimental to our community. As Andrew stated, we have 1,200 residents on that side of the tracks that we will not be able to provide emergency services to. We have our public library down there. We have the Camanche Marina. We have boat ramps. And, the safety factor is a very important thing, but the CP's been leaving everybody in the dark on what they're going to be taking along the tracks, and I don't think that's fair to any community along the way, not just us, but all the way from Canada down to Mexico. They need to be telling everybody that what they will be carrying, and not just keeping their mouth shut and leaving everybody up in the air on what they're going to be hauling.
Yeah, I think that's important too, is that people need to understand what this is really about. This is about bituminous oil, and they do say it a couple of times in the environmental impact study done by the Surface Transportation Board, and anybody can see that if you just go on Google and type in Surface Transportation Board Canadian Pacific Merger EIS, and it'll bring you right to the document, and you can read it for yourself. It's about 360 pages if you really want to read that much nerd stuff, but they do a nice job of summarizing, but they don't really talk a whole lot about the bituminous oil, and that's what this is really about, in our opinion, at least.
Now, you mentioned off air that Guttenberg is opposed to it, but and then
I'm
you
aware
said
I'm aware that
the
Guttenberg
bottleneck
opposed it.
begins at Sebula. So.
Right. So north of Sebula, they'll be seeing probably 12 to 13 trains additionally. But then the additional traffic that comes from Chicago, that where CP merges there in Sebula, that will increase our traffic greatly. For Clinton, Camanche, Preston, all these communities along the CP rail, you're going to see a large increase in traffic, and you're going to see a large increase in the length of the trains, and it's very problematic for us. But I think the Canadian Pacific has done an excellent job of letting the argument focus on noise, letting the argument focus on length of trains, letting the argument focus on the rumbling of trains. They're not having a conversation on bituminous oil, and that's really detrimental to our community. A spill or a hazard like that is really problematic.
Okay, so that is your main concern then?
Well, our main concern is the public safety aspect.
Okay.
But I think a spill or derailment or anything like that, it falls under public safety anyway. But our main concern is how do we get access for ambulance service over to that side of the tracks. We have 2 firefighters who live on that side of the tracks, and we have some equipment over there housed by the community center. But that's not enough to accommodate the needs of those citizens over there if they need us in an emergency. And like I said earlier, there could be a number of reasons why there's a blockage of the crossings in Camanche that aren't even Canadian Pacific's fault. But we need to have some kind of alternative to be able to issue the services that those folks on that side of the tracks will need. And it will happen. We had plenty of instances since we've been talking to Canadian Pacific of one of our ambulance people sent me a picture. They're on their way to help deliver a baby, and they can't get over there because the train's blocking the crossing. So it's problematic.
And you brought up a very good point, the fact that the entire part of Camanche could be cut off.
Yes.
So what are some of the solutions to this? I mean, do you build a bridge over the track or what?
That's certainly an option. Council is exploring utilizing Iowa Code 364.8, which talks about overpasses and underpasses. It could be more costly to us, and I think in the end it may continue with the increased volume of train traffic and the noise. That won't go away if we enforce that, but it certainly would allow us to have access to that side of the tracks. We've asked them for a pedestrian overpass just so emergency services could get over there, get to the equipment, and issue aid as needed. They didn't like that either. We also asked for something simple like video camera surveillance of all the crossings that feeds over to the fire department so they can know which crossings are blocked before they go out the door. That seems pretty reasonable, and with technology being what it is, rather simple to do, but that was not met well either. I don't understand what their problem is.
Again, visiting with Andrew Kida and Austin Pruett of Camanche. Now, have you visited with like Matt Brook or other administrators and Mayor Scott Madison? I mean, Clinton and Camanche right next to each other here.
I have not, and the basis is that the Canadian Pacific Railroad is negotiating with each individual city.
Okay.
So it's really not, when you're in a negotiation like that, sharing information back and forth is not going to be tolerated.
Okay, all right. Now, you've got an event that's coming up to maybe help safety-wise.
We do. So, I became the president of the Rotary Club of Clinton. I took over in July from my good friend Christy Collins. She's out there listening. Get better. She's had some health scares there, and she's on her mending, but I'm wishing her well wishes and get better soon. Knowing what was going on, and we have, in Camanche, we have the Train Depot Museum that's down by the library, and it's in need of some love and care. It hasn't been open for a long time. So we're working on rehabilitating that. We did some community involvement stuff, and there's only so much we can do. So the Rotary Club of Clinton, for my project, as in my year as president, is going to raise funds towards rehabilitating that museum, get that building up to snuff, reopen it as a museum, and also work on the rail car that's down there to get that shored up. And then the end goal is to have a regular annual train safety day for kids. So that includes bounce houses, food trucks, and training provided by the Union Pacific and the Canadian Pacific. They've already committed to send their safety people to this event whenever it is we have it. So in order to raise funds for that, I've been utilizing the Rotary Club of Clinton Foundation, which is a 501c3, and that's going well. We've already raised close to $20,000 just specifically for that project to receive a Canadian Pacific grant and a Union Pacific grant. And the District 6000 of the Rotary Club has committed $3,750 to that. Just various groups donating money to that cause. And the other part of that leg is the Rotary Club's annual fundraiser, which comes up on October 28th. It's called the Boo Bash. We have it up at the Vista Grande, and people who want to donate and sponsor to that, you can go to the RotaryClubOfClinton.com, their website there, and figure out how to donate to that. The event is a lot of fun. There's a live auction, silent auction, DJ. We'll have a costume contest, various raffles and drawings. And to date, we've got, I think, $21,000 in sponsorships for that project, that part of the program too. So we're well on our way to doing great things, and it's just another example of Rotary Club, not just focusing on Clinton. This is the Rotary Club of Clinton, but focusing on the area overall too. And we're going to do that nice project in Camanche and get that museum open and hopefully teach kids how to not play around on the tracks.
That's a good idea. Now, and you say you want this to become an annual event, Andrew, and just not a one-time deal?
Well, when we do the program at the Train Depot Museum in the summer, yes, we want to be able to do that every year. And it's not just for Camanche residents, it'll be for everybody in the area, because this rail merger is going to affect Clinton just as much as it affects Camanche. We have different circumstances that it affects, but it's something that we can all learn from, and shame on us if we're not up on finding ways to help kids learn about safety, especially when it comes to trains, because last time I checked, those things can be deadly.
All right. Appreciate you both coming in. Before we do let you go, Austin, what are some of the things that are on the top shelf for you as far as what you would like to see take place in Camanche?
No, we're working on a lot of projects. We're working on infrastructure. We have plans for the next couple of years, and everything's taking place in that direction. We had a public hearing over this railroad thing, and the community involvement on that was very impressive. Maybe here comes the future. Actually, there's no maybe. I'd like to see it happen in the future, have the community be more involved in everything we do, and I think that's going to be very impactful on our community, is instead of us as the mayor or city council or city administrator making decisions for our community, having the community's involvement is going to be very, very good look for our town.
And it's great that we have the facility to do that too. That was the most impressive part about that public hearing. We had 80 people show up to our space, and we were able to accommodate them in our space. Although we had standing room only in the lobby, we were still able to accommodate. We used our technology, and everybody fit in there comfortably. And it was really a great opportunity. And we would have to move stuff over to the fire station to accommodate that stuff. This time we were able to hold it in City Hall, and we look forward to doing more community engagement opportunities for projects that are coming up or issues that we have to face, and how do we resolve those things and involve the community members more.
Mayor, how much longer is your term, and would you consider running again?
Yes, re-election would be next fall, and yes, I do plan on running again.
Okay, is it just
That's an
2 years?
early campaign announcement.
Yeah,
Holy
right, yeah,
cow.
there you go.
Well, you're a little,
There you go.
you're a little early.
Yes, I gave him an answer. So.
Are they just 2-year terms for the mayor and council?
Mayor is 2 years and council is 4.
And 4, okay, all right. Should be the other way around, don't you think?
Yeah, I'm fine with whatever they
It's
want.
been that way for a long time in Camanche because they used to have a strong mayor form of government, and when they converted to city administrator form of government, they could have changed it to a 4-year term,
Okay.
but they chose not to, and that's fine, and that's the way the city operates now.
Okay, again, we hope to catch up with you every 2-3 months or so, Andrew. What are some of the things beside the railroad merger that are on your plate?
For me, well, the budget stuff is going to start coming up. We're going to have to reevaluate our tax levy because we know that property valuations have gone up. So we're going to try and adjust the tax levy down because the city doesn't need all that extra money coming in. And something along with that is working on streamlining our building inspection and building permit processes so that it's easier for people to get their permits applied for rather than just having to walk into City Hall. And it's important that we know too that the building permit process is what allows the county to understand what property values have increased on a property because the work has been done. It also affords us the opportunity to make sure that work is done up to code. So one of the things we will be looking at soon is what kind of building code do we want to have versus what we have right now. And ours is really 2 pages of building code. It doesn't address all the things we need to address. So we'll be looking at something like the International Building Code and having that amended to adapt to what our needs are so we can keep a better eye on what's going on in the community.
All right. Andrew, thank you so much. Austin, a pleasure to meet you, and good luck.
Thank you.